The sky over Gallatin National Forest blazed in shades of orange and red, as if the night itself were on fire. Claire Thompson, 38 years old, adjusted her helmet and shouted orders above the roar of the wildfire. "Hold the line! Hoses on the west flank!" Her voice, steady and experienced, cut through the chaos as the wildland firefighting team battled the flames devouring dry pines. Sweat dripped down her forehead, mixing with soot, but her eyes remained focused, assessing every movement of the fire. It was her 10th season as a wildland firefighter in Bozeman, Montana, and Claire knew the terrain like the back of her calloused hand. At 38, she was one of the most respected on the team, a woman who faced hell with the same determination she used to raise her teenage son, Ethan. The operation lasted until dawn. When the sun finally rose, the fire was contained, reduced to smoldering embers. Claire, exhausted, removed her heavy gear and leaned against the crew's truck, taking a sip of water while Captain Larson, her boss, gave her a pat on the shoulder. "Good work, Thompson. You held it together today." She just nodded, fatigue weighing on her shoulders, but a faint smile escaped. It was in these moments, with adrenaline still coursing, that Claire felt alive, as if the fire were an opponent she could understand and defeat. Back at the station, Claire swapped her uniform for jeans and a jacket, eager to head home. She drove her pickup truck along Montana's winding roads, the Bridger Mountains in the background, until she reached the quiet neighborhood where she lived. The house, a rustic two-story with a view of the valley, was her pride. Bought with her salary and a VA loan from her brief time in the Army, it was a home she and Ryan Mitchell, her husband, had built for Ethan, now 16. But as she parked in the driveway, something felt off. The porch light was off and the house was too quiet, as if it were holding its breath. Inside, Ethan was sprawled on the couch, headphones on, playing a video game. "Hey, Mom," he mumbled, not taking his eyes off the screen. Claire ruffled his hair, smiling. "Where's your dad?" Ethan shrugged. "Said he had a work meeting, something about an important client." Claire frowned. Ryan, a real estate agent known for his charm, had been working late often. She wasn't one to jump to suspicions, but something in Ethan's voice, a hint of uncertainty, made her pause. She climbed the stairs, her body craving a hot shower. In the bedroom, she noticed Ryan's phone forgotten on the dresser. He rarely left without it. Curiosity got the better of her, and she touched the screen, which lit up with a notification. A message from Sophia, a co-worker of Ryan's. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." Claire felt a tightness in her chest but tried to rationalize. Maybe it was just a professional message. Ryan always talked about Sophia as a promising business partner. But the emoji, so casual and intimate, felt out of place. Pushing aside the unease, Claire went to the makeshift office in the corner of the bedroom where they kept the bills. She sat at the desk and opened the laptop to check their joint bank account statement. Her eyes scanned the numbers and then stopped. A $5,000 withdrawal made 2 days ago, with no explanation. Her heart raced. They always discussed large financial moves, especially with Ethan's school expenses and the costs of maintaining the house. Claire clicked on the transaction details, transferred to an account she didn't recognize. No name, just an anonymous account number. She closed the laptop, the silence of the house now oppressive. Ryan arrived minutes later, his easy smile lighting up his face. "Hey, babe, how was the mission?" He leaned in for a kiss, but Claire dodged, pretending to adjust her bag. "Exhausting," she replied, studying him. He seemed normal, but there was something in his eyes, a flicker of discomfort maybe. "Did you make any big transfers this week?" she asked, keeping her tone neutral. Ryan hesitated just for a second before laughing. "Oh, probably a deposit for a client, work stuff, you know how it is." He changed the subject, talking about a new real estate development in town. Claire nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. As Ryan went upstairs to shower, she picked up his phone again. The password was still the same, Ethan's birth date. She opened the messaging app and saw more texts from Sophia. "Tomorrow at my place? Need to show you something special." Claire's stomach churned. She locked the phone and placed it back on the dresser as if nothing had happened. That night, lying in bed, Claire couldn't sleep. The flames of Gallatin National Forest still danced in her mind, but now another fire was growing, one that burned colder, more treacherous. She thought about the past. She met Ryan in 2007, when he was a young real estate agent starting his career, and she, fresh out of the army, was searching for purpose. They married a year later, driven by passion and promises. Ethan was born 2 years after, and the Bozeman house came in 2012, a symbol of stability. But now, staring at the ceiling, Claire wondered if it had all been a facade. The next morning, before heading out for another mission, Claire opened the bank app again. Another withdrawal, this time $2, appeared on the statement. She took a deep breath, her firefighter instincts kicking in. In a fire, you observe, assess, and act before the flames consume you. In life, it seemed, the same principle applied. She grabbed her phone and texted Laura Bennett, her lawyer friend. Need some advice, something's not right. As she waited for a reply, Claire looked out the window at the mountains she loved so much. Something was coming, and she needed to be ready. Claire Thompson's boots crunched on the gravel driveway as she pulled up to her Bozeman home after a grueling, week-long mission fighting a wildfire in the Absaroka Range. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the rugged peaks visible from her porch, but the house itself felt cold, almost foreign. She dropped her gear bag by the door, the weight of exhaustion settling into her bones. At 38, Claire was used to the physical toll of her job as a wildland firefighter, but the unease from that $5,000 withdrawal and the cryptic text from Sophia gnawed at her like a smoldering ember. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. No hum of the TV, no clatter of Ethan in the kitchen scavenging for snacks. Claire called out, "Ethan, you home?" A muffled reply came from upstairs. She found her 16-year-old son sprawled on his bed, biology textbook open but ignored in favor of his phone. "Hey, Mom," he said, pulling out an earbud. "Dad's not here. Said he had to meet some client for a late dinner." Claire's jaw tightened. Another late night. She forced a smile. "How's school? That biology project coming along?" Ethan shrugged, his usual teenage nonchalance masking a flicker of unease. "It's fine. Dad's been weird, though. He was home last night, but Sophia dropped by. They were talking in the garage for, forever." Claire's stomach twisted, but she kept her tone light. "Sophia, huh? What were they talking about?" Ethan hesitated, his eyes flicking to the side. "I don't know. Something about a big deal. Dad said it could change everything." Claire nodded, ruffling his hair to hide her growing suspicion. "Get back to that homework, okay? I'll make us some dinner." As Ethan plugged his earbud back in, Claire's mind raced. Ryan's late nights, the mysterious withdrawals, and now Sophia in their garage, pieces of a puzzle she didn't want to solve but couldn't ignore. In the kitchen, Claire pulled out ingredients for tacos, Ethan's favorite, but her hands moved on autopilot. She replayed the text from Sophia. "Need to show you something special." The memory of Ryan's casual dismissal of the $5,000 withdrawal stung. He'd always been smooth, a natural salesman who could talk his way out of anything. When they met in 2007, that charm had swept her off her feet. A young Army vet transitioning to civilian life, drawn to his confidence and ambition. But now, that same charm felt like a mask. After dinner, with Ethan back in his room, Claire retreated to the office corner in her bedroom. She opened the laptop again, logging into their joint bank account. Her heart sank as she scrolled through the transactions. Another withdrawal, $2,000, had hit that morning, transferred to the same unfamiliar account. She clicked through the details, but there was no name, just a string of numbers. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, tempted to call the bank right then, but it was past business hours. Instead, she opened their credit card statement. A new charge caught her eye. $800 at a high-end restaurant in downtown Bozeman, dated 2 nights ago when Ryan claimed he was working late. Claire's pulse quickened. She and Ryan hadn't been to a fancy restaurant in years. She grabbed her phone and texted Laura Bennett, her friend and a local attorney who'd helped her navigate the VA loan years ago. Can we meet tomorrow? Found some weird bank activity. Need your take. Laura's reply came within minutes. 8 a.m. at the daily grind. Bring everything you've got. Claire exhaled, feeling a flicker of control. Laura was sharp, no nonsense, and had a knack for spotting trouble. If anyone could help her make sense of this, it was her. The next morning, Claire dropped Ethan at school and drove to the coffee shop, a cozy spot with exposed brick and the smell of roasted beans. Laura was already there, nursing a latte, her laptop open. "You look like hell," Laura said, pushing a coffee toward Claire. "What's going on?" Claire slid into the booth, pulling out her phone and showing Laura screenshots of the bank transactions. $5 grand last week, 2 more today. No explanation. And Ryan's acting off. Late nights, vague answers. And there's this woman, Sophia, his co-worker. Ethan said she's been at the house. Laura's brow furrowed as she scrolled through the screenshots. "This isn't normal. You two always talk about big moves like this, right?" Claire nodded. "Always. He said it's work stuff, but I don't buy it." Laura leaned back, tapping her pen. "First step, we need to trace that account. Could be a mistake, could be fraud. But my gut says you need to protect yourself. You got access to your security system?" Claire's eyes lit up. "Yeah, we installed cameras last year. I can check them remotely." Laura nodded. "Do it. And don't confront Ryan yet. If he's hiding something, you want evidence first." Back at the fire station, Claire's day was packed with training drills. She led her team through a simulated evacuation, barking orders as they practiced hauling hoses up a steep incline. Her body moved with muscle memory, but her mind was elsewhere. During a break, she pulled out her phone and opened the security app for their home cameras. Her hands shook as she navigated to the footage from the previous night. The garage camera showed Ryan and Sophia standing close, too close, their voices low but audible. "This deal's gonna set us up," Ryan said, his hand brushing Sophia's arm. "We just need to move fast." Sophia laughed, her voice coy. "You sure Claire won't notice?" Ryan's reply was clipped. "She's too busy saving the world." Claire's throat tightened. She closed the app, her hands clenching the phone. The betrayal was no longer a suspicion. It was real, captured in grainy footage. She thought of Ethan, of the house they'd built, of the life she'd poured her heart into. Ryan wasn't just cheating. He was planning something bigger. She texted Laura. "Found footage. Ryan and Sophia in the garage talking about a deal. I'm freaking out." Laura's response was immediate. "Save it. Meet me tonight. We'll figure out what he's up to." That evening, after a quick dinner with Ethan, Claire drove to Laura's office, a small space downtown cluttered with legal files. Laura had already pulled up public records on Sophia. Sophia Larson, 29, works at Ryan's agency. No criminal record, but she's been tagged in a lot of his recent deals. Big ones, cash sales, mostly to out-of-state buyers. Claire's stomach churned. "And the withdrawals?" Laura shook her head. "We need more access to trace them. I can file a request with the bank, but it'll take a couple of days. For now, keep documenting everything. And Claire, don't let him know you're onto him." As Claire drove home, the mountains loomed under a starlit sky, their beauty a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside her. She thought of her army days, when survival meant staying calm under pressure, assessing threats before acting. Ryan was a threat now, and she needed a plan. Back at home, she checked the security app again, saving the garage footage to a private cloud. Ethan was already asleep, his biology textbook still open on his desk. Claire kissed his forehead, her resolve hardening. Whatever Ryan was doing, she wouldn't let him destroy their family. She climbed into bed, the empty space beside her a reminder of the growing distance. As she closed her eyes, she made a silent vow. She'd fight this fire, just like she fought the ones in the forest. The dim glow of Claire's phone lit up the dark bedroom as she watched the security camera footage for the third time. The grainy images showed Ryan and Sophia in the garage, their faces close, his voice confident. "This deal's going to put us on top. We just need to move fast." Sophia, with a teasing smile, replied, "You sure Claire won't notice?" Ryan's response was like a knife. She's too busy saving the world. Claire closed the app, her heart racing, anger, mixed with a pain she didn't want to admit. It was official. Ryan wasn't just cheating on her. He was planning something bigger, something involving their house, the home she'd built with so much effort for her and Ethan. The next morning, Claire drove Ethan to school, keeping up a facade of normalcy. "You okay, Mom?" he asked, noticing her distant look. "Just tired, kid," she replied, forcing a smile. "Focus on that biology test, all right?" Ethan nodded, but his eyes carried a worry that broke Claire's heart. He was young, but not blind. He sensed the tension at home, even without knowing the details. After dropping Ethan off, Claire drove to Laura Bennett's office, the lawyer, who'd become her ally. The small office, cluttered with papers and smelling of coffee, was a refuge where Claire could organize her thoughts. Laura was waiting, a coffee mug and notepad in hand. "Show me what you've got," she said, direct. "As always." Claire handed over her phone, playing the garage footage. Laura watched in silence, her lips pressed tight. "This is serious, Claire. They're talking about a deal involving your house. Have you checked for more bank activity?" Claire nodded, showing new statements she'd downloaded that morning. Another $3,000 had vanished, transferred to the same unknown account. "And there's more," Claire said, hesitating. "I found an email in Ryan's trash folder. He tried to access a mortgage refinance form. My signature's on it, but I never signed anything." Laura frowned, taking the phone to examine the document. "That's forgery, Claire. If he's trying to refinance the house without you, it's fraud. And if they're talking about selling, we need to find out who the buyer is." Claire took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the betrayal. The Bozeman house, with its backyard, overlooking the Bridger Mountains, was more than an address. It was a symbol of her struggle, bought with her VA loan after years of saving. Ryan knew that. He was there when she signed the paperwork in 2012, proud, or so it seemed at the time. As Laura took notes, Claire's mind drifted to the past. She met Ryan in 2007 at a Bozeman bar shortly after leaving the Army. She'd served 2 years, an experience that shaped her but left her directionless. A devastating wildfire in Montana inspired her to become a firefighter, a way to protect the communities she loved. Ryan, then a young real estate agent, won her over with his easy charm and promises of a future together. They married in 2008, and Ethan was born in 2010. The house came later, a milestone of stability. But now, thinking back on recent years, Claire saw the signs she'd ignored. The nights Ryan came home late, the cut-off conversations, the phone always locked. Back in the present, Laura interrupted her thoughts. "I found something in public. Records. A name keeps popping up in Ryan's recent deals, Derek Holt. He's a real estate speculator, buys houses cheap, usually from families in distress, and flips them for profit. Ryan closed 2 sales with him in the last 6 months." Claire felt a chill. "You think he's trying to sell our house to this guy?" Laura nodded. "It's possible. We need more proof. But my bet is Ryan's using the refinance to pull money out of the house and then sell it fast, probably below market value." Claire spent the rest of the day at the fire station trying to focus on work. She trained new recruits, including Jake Palmer, a 30-year-old firefighter, 8 years her junior, whose energy and dedication stood out. During a break, Jake approached, offering a water bottle. "You seem like your head's somewhere else, Thompson," he said with a kind smile. Claire shrugged, uneasy with the attention. "Just home stuff," she replied, keeping her distance. Jake was young, confident, and something in his gaze unsettled her. Not because of him, but because of the idea of someone seeing her vulnerability. That night, Claire sat with Ethan for dinner, but the conversation was strained. Ethan mentioned almost casually that Sophia had been at the house again, bringing work papers for Ryan. "She's nice, I guess," he said, hesitant. "But why's she over so much?" Claire swallowed her anger, keeping her voice calm. "I don't know, kid, but I'll find out." After Ethan went to his room, Claire opened the security app again. The cameras showed Sophia in the living room, laughing with Ryan as they pointed at the fireplace Claire had rebuilt with her own hands. "This house will sell fast," Sophia said. "Holt already has a buyer lined up." Claire saved the video, her heart heavy. She was no longer just a betrayed wife. She was a woman whose home, her proudest achievement, was at risk. She called Laura, her voice steady despite the pain. "They're planning to sell the house. Derek Holt is the buyer." "What do I do now?" Laura was blunt. "Document everything. Every email, every video, every transaction. And don't confront Ryan yet. If he's forging your signature, we need to catch him in the act." Claire nodded, though Laura couldn't see her. As she looked out the window at the dark mountains, she felt a cold determination grow. Ryan might have started this fire, but Claire knew how to put it out, and she wasn't going to let anything burn. The wind cut through the cold morning air as Claire Thompson led her team on a mission against a wildfire threatening a rural community on the outskirts of Bozeman. Flames danced across the slopes, and Claire, with her radio crackling in her ear, coordinated the team with military precision. "Palmer, take the east flank. Watch for gusts," she shouted, referring to Jake Palmer, the 30-year-old rookie firefighter who was starting to stand out for his courage. Despite the chaos, Claire's mind was split. The security camera footage, Ryan and Sophia planning to sell the house, the mention of Derek Holt, echoed like an alarm. She knew time was running out. Back at the station after the mission, Claire was cleaning her gear when Jake approached, his face smudged with soot but his eyes bright with an energy she envied. "You were amazing out there, Thompson," he said, handing her a water bottle. Claire accepted but kept her gaze steady, uncomfortable with the attention. "Just doing my job," she replied curtly. Jake, 8 years younger, had a laid-back demeanor that disarmed her but also made her hesitate. The last thing she needed was to open up to someone new, especially someone so young. "If you need to talk, I'm around," he added before walking away. Claire felt a knot in her stomach, not because of him, but because of the vulnerability he seemed to see in her. That afternoon, Claire met with Laura Bennett at a quiet cafe in downtown Bozeman. Laura brought a folder with public records that confirmed their suspicions. Derek Holt was a real estate speculator with a history of shady purchases, often from families in financial distress or with absent spouses. Ryan closed 3 sales with him in the last 8 months, Laura explained, pointing to documents. All below market value with fat commissions for Ryan. And look at this. She slid over a mortgage refinance form for Claire's house, with Claire's signature forged. He tried to pull $50,000 from the home's equity. Good news? The bank hasn't approved it yet. Claire clenched her fists, anger rising. He's using my long hours at work to do this behind my back. Laura nodded. Exactly. He knows you're busy saving lives, but we need more evidence to stop this. Claire showed a new security camera video, captured the previous night. Ryan and Holt on the porch discussing a cash buyer who wanted the house listed at $400,000, well below the market value of $550,000. Holt said the buyer wants to close in 2 weeks, Ryan said in the video, his voice full of excitement. Claire felt her blood boil. The house was hers, bought with her sweat, her VA loan, and Ryan was treating it like a toy. At home, the tension was palpable. Ethan, usually quiet, seemed more withdrawn. During dinner, he asked, "Why are you and Dad fighting so much?" Claire hesitated, choosing her words. "It's not fighting, kid. Just adult stuff. We're working it out." But Ethan didn't seem convinced. After he went to his room, Claire opened the laptop and found an email from Ryan, sent while she was in the field. "Claire, we need to talk about our future. I think it's time we act like adults and move on." It was a divorce request, cold and direct, as if 15 years of marriage were a contract to be terminated. Claire slammed the laptop shut, the sound echoing in the silent room. The next morning, Claire went to the bank with Laura, armed with documents and videos. The manager, a middle-aged man named Tom Reynolds, examined the refinance form. "This signature doesn't match the one we have on file," he confirmed, frowning. "This is fraud. I'll freeze the transaction until we investigate." Claire felt a momentary relief, but she knew the game was just beginning. Laura suggested hiring a private investigator to track Holt's movements, but Claire refused. I want to do this my way. If Ryan thinks he can fool me, he doesn't know who he's dealing with. At the fire station, Claire threw herself into work to keep her mind occupied. During a rescue drill, she saved a recruit caught in a simulated collapse, earning a nod of respect from Jake. "You're like a superhero," he teased, but Claire just shook her head, the weight of betrayal still dragging her down. Later, alone in the break room, she opened the security app again. A new video showed Ryan and Sophia in the kitchen, with Sophia saying, "Holt wants the house listed by Friday. He said the buyer's pushing hard." Ryan replied, "Don't worry, Claire's too busy to notice." Claire saved the video, her heart heavy. She was no longer just a betrayed wife. She was a woman fighting to protect everything she'd built. Back at Laura's office, the two reviewed the videos and documents. Laura uncovered more about Holt. He had a pattern of buying homes from families of military or first responders, exploiting moments of vulnerability. "Ryan's probably getting a fat commission and splitting it with Holt," Laura said. "And Sophia? Is she in on it?" Claire asked. Laura hesitated. "I'm not sure, but the video suggests she knows about the scheme." Claire felt anger. Swell, but also a cold clarity. She wasn't going to let Ryan destroy her life. She grabbed her phone and texted Tom Reynolds, the bank manager. "I want all transactions linked to that unknown account, urgently." Tom's reply came quickly. "We're tracking it. I'll keep you posted." That night, Claire returned home exhausted, but determined. Ethan was in his room, listening to music, oblivious to the chaos unfolding. Claire sat on the porch, looking at the Bridger Mountains under the starry sky. Ryan's divorce email still burned in her mind, but she wasn't going to give in. She grabbed her phone and installed a new security camera in the backyard, setting it to record in real time. If Ryan was planning to sell the house, she was going to catch him in the act. As she adjusted the camera, she thought of Jake, his easy smile, his offer of support. The age difference bothered her. At 30, he seemed too young, maybe naive. What could he understand about her life, a single mom fighting a cheating husband? Still, his kindness lingered in her mind, a contrast to Ryan's coldness. Claire shook her head, pushing the thought away. This wasn't the time to get distracted. She had a fire to put out, and no one was going to stop her. Claire Thompson felt the weight of exhaustion as she drove along Bozeman's winding roads, the gray sky signaling an approaching storm. The week had been brutal. A wildfire in Custer National Forest demanded 12-hour shifts, and Ryan's betrayal, confirmed by security camera footage and the divorce email, weighed like an anchor. But Claire wasn't one to give up. At the fire station, she stored her gear with methodical precision, her mind focused on the next step. Ryan might think he had her cornered, but she was ready to turn the tables. At the bank, Claire and Laura Bennett met with Tom Reynolds, the manager who had reviewed the fraudulent refinance form. Tom, with crooked glasses and a serious expression, spread documents across the table. "The signature on the form isn't yours, Claire," he said, comparing it to the official signature on file. "This is clear fraud. I've frozen the transaction and alerted our fraud department." "But there's more. We found $20,000 in transfers to an account linked to Derek Holt, made over the last 10 days. Claire exchanged a glance with Laura. "He's trying to pull as much money as he can before selling the house," Laura said. "We need to act fast." Claire handed Tom a folder with screenshots from the security videos. Ryan and Sophia in the kitchen, Ryan and Holt on the porch, discussing the house sale for $400,000. "Is this enough to open a formal investigation?" Claire asked. Tom nodded. "More than enough. I'll pass this to our fraud investigator, and I recommend you contact the authorities. This is going beyond a domestic issue." Laura was already taking notes. "I'll prepare a formal fraud complaint." "Claire, do you have more videos?" Claire confirmed. "I have everything saved in the cloud, every word, every move." At the fire station, Claire tried to stay focused, but the tension followed her. During an evacuation drill, she led the team with her usual determination, but her eyes met Jake Palmer, the 30-year-old rookie firefighter. He carried a hose with ease, his athletic frame moving with confidence. After the drill, Jake approached, wiping sweat from his forehead. "You're carrying the world on your shoulders, Thompson," he said, with a smile that mixed concern and admiration. Claire hesitated, her instinct to shut down battling his kindness. "Just a rough week," she replied, keeping her distance. But Jake didn't back off. "I get it. My sister went through a messy divorce. If you need someone to listen, I'm good at it." Claire looked at him, noticing the sincerity in his brown eyes. He was young, 8 years younger, a gap that felt glaring. What could a 30-year-old guy know about her life? A 38-year-old mom fighting to save her family. Still, his offer touched her, and she mumbled a thanks before walking away. That night, Claire installed additional security cameras at the house, one in the garage and another at the entrance, set to record in real time. She knew Ryan was speeding up the plan. A new video captured that afternoon showed Ryan and Sophia in the living room, Sophia holding papers. "Holt says the buyer's ready to pay cash," she said, her voice excited. "But what if Claire finds out?" Ryan laughed, confident. "She's too busy putting out fires. She doesn't have time for this." Claire saved the video, her anger giving way to a cold clarity. Sophia wasn't just the mistress. She was in on the scheme. Laura suggested involving the FBI, as Ryan's actions crossed into real estate fraud. Claire agreed, and Laura made initial contact with a local agent, Karen Ortiz, who specialized in financial crimes. Meanwhile, Claire got a call from Tom Reynolds. "We tracked Holt's account," he said. "He received $25,000 from various sources, including your joint account. And there's more. Sophia signed as a witness on some refinance documents." Claire felt a tightness in her chest. "So she's in the middle of it all," Tom confirmed. "Looks that way. I'll pass." This to the FBI. At the fire station, Claire led a risky mission to contain a fire threatening a nearby village. During the operation, she saved a colleague trapped by a burning tree, dragging him to safety with sheer strength. Jake, who was nearby, shouted, "You're a machine, Thompson." Claire just waved, but the praise warmed something inside her, if only briefly. After the mission in the break room, Jake sat beside her, offering a coffee. "You don't stop, do you?" he said, his tone light but his eyes attentive. Claire gave a half smile, but the age difference nagged at her. Jake seemed so young, so untouched by life's scars. "Ever thought about slowing down?" he asked. Claire laughed dryly. "Not with a 16-year-old kid and a house to keep." Jake nodded, not pushing, but his presence was a reminder of something Claire didn't want to admit. She was alone, and the idea of trusting someone new scared her. At home, Ethan was quieter than usual. Claire tried to talk, but he shut down, muttering about school. She knew he felt the weight of the looming divorce, even without knowing the details. After he went to bed, Claire opened the security app and found another video. Ryan and Holt. In the garage, Holt holding a contract. "The buyer wants to close next week," Holt said. "You sure the paperwork's clean?" Ryan replied, "Leave it to me. Claire won't even notice." Claire sent the video to Laura and Tom with a message. "They're speeding up. We need to act." Laura replied immediately. "Spoke to Agent Ortiz. She wants to meet you tomorrow. This is bigger than we thought." As she prepared for bed, Claire looked at the family photo on the nightstand, her, Ryan, and Ethan smiling on a Bridger Mountains trail. The image felt like another life. She thought of Jake, his offer of support, and felt a conflict stir. He was young, maybe too young, and the idea of opening up to someone new, especially with Ryan's betrayal so fresh, made her nervous. What if it was just an impulse, a distraction? But Jake's sincerity, so different from Ryan's deceit, lingered in her mind. Claire turned off the light, determined to focus on the fight. Ryan might have started this fire, but she was going to put it out, and no one was going to take what was hers. Twilight painted Bozeman's sky in shades of purple as Claire Thompson parked her pickup truck a few blocks from home, her heart racing. She didn't want Ryan to know she was watching. The evidence she'd gathered, security videos, bank statements, the forged signature, was now in the FBI's hands, thanks to Agent Karen Ortiz, who had taken the case with an intensity that matched Claire's firefighting resolve. Laura Bennett, the lawyer, had ensured the evidence was solid, and Ortiz confirmed. Ryan, Sophia, and Derek Holt were part of a larger scheme targeting first responder and military families in Montana and Idaho. Claire felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief that she was close to stopping Ryan. Anger that he had betrayed not just her, but other families. That morning, Claire had met with Ortiz at an FBI office in Bozeman, a stark space with white walls and the smell of stale coffee. Ortiz, a fast-talking woman with piercing eyes, reviewed Claire's videos. "This is gold," she said, pointing at the screen where Ryan and Holt discussed the house sale. "It shows intent, organization, it's conspiracy, on top of real estate fraud. Holt has a history, and Ryan's the link to the victims." Claire crossed her arms, her voice steady. "And Sophia, is she in on it?" Ortiz hesitated. "It looks like it. She signed documents as a witness, knowing they were fraudulent." "We're investigating her level of involvement," Claire asked hesitantly. "And other families? Has this happened before?" Ortiz nodded. "We've found 7 similar cases in the last 2 years. You gave us the pattern we needed." At the fire station, Claire tried to keep up her routine, leading a firefighting drill. Jake Palmer, the 30-year-old rookie firefighter, was at her side, hauling gear with an energy that made her feel, for a moment, lighter. After the drill, he approached in the break room, offering a sandwich. "You look like you haven't eaten in days," he teased, his gentle smile contrasting with her tension. Claire accepted, but the 8-year age gap weighed on her mind. "Don't you ever get tired of being so optimistic?" she asked, half serious. Jake laughed. "Grew up with 3 older brothers. Learned to see the bright side, even in the worst situations." Claire looked at him, surprised by the depth, but the idea of opening up to someone so young made her pull back. "Thanks, Palmer," she said, returning to work, her heart torn between gratitude and caution. At home, the tension with Ethan was palpable. He found her in the kitchen, his eyes full of questions. "Mom, what's going on with you and Dad? He said you guys are splitting up." Claire took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "Kid, things are complicated, but I promise, I'll protect you in our home." Ethan nodded, but the pain in his face hit her like a punch. She hugged him, feeling the weight of being his anchor amid the chaos. "It's gonna be okay," she murmured, more to herself than to him. That afternoon, Claire watched from a distance as Ryan tried to list the house. She parked on a side street, her phone connected to the security app. The camera showed Ryan welcoming a realtor, not Holt, but another man, inspecting the backyard. Claire sent the video to Ortiz with a message. "He's acting now." Hours later, Ortiz called. "We're monitoring Ryan and Holt. We have an operation set for tomorrow. Don't confront him, Claire. Leave it to us." Claire agreed, but the wait was agonizing. At the station, Jake found her again, this time during a break. He sat beside her, not forcing conversation, just offering company. "Ever thought about starting over?" he asked after a silence. Claire frowned. "Starting? What?" Jake shrugged. "Life. Sometimes you gotta let the past burn to build something new." The words hit her, but the age difference made her hesitate. "You're young, Jake. You don't get what it's like to carry 15 years of a crumbling marriage." He looked into her eyes, serious. "Age doesn't define what we feel, Thompson. I see you, and you're stronger than any fire." Claire looked away, her heart racing. His sincerity was disarming, but the idea of trusting someone new, especially a younger man, scared her. The next morning, Claire got a call from Ortiz. "We're ready. Holt and Ryan have a meeting today at your house. We're moving in." Claire drove to the neighborhood, parking at a safe distance. The security app showed Holt and Sophia arriving, followed by Ryan. They entered the house, Holt carrying a briefcase. Minutes later, FBI vehicles surrounded the property. Claire watched, her heart in her throat, as agents handcuffed Ryan, Sophia, and Holt. Ortiz stepped out of the house, waving to Claire. "We caught them discussing the scheme in real time," she said. "Fraud, conspiracy, forgery. We've got it all on tape." Claire stood silent, watching Ryan being led away. He glanced in her direction, but his eyes didn't meet hers. Sophia looked scared. Holt resigned. Claire felt an emptiness, not of victory, but of loss. 15 years of marriage, reduced to handcuffs and lies. Later, Ortiz met her at the cafe. "Your case is the key. Holt and Ryan targeted families like yours, firefighters, cops, military. We've found 10 victims so far." Claire nodded, her voice hoarse. "And now?" Ortiz replied, "They're facing heavy charges. You saved your house, Claire, and you helped other families." That night, Claire sat with Ethan in the backyard, looking at the stars. "Dad did bad things, didn't he?" he asked. Claire sighed. "Yeah, kid, but we're safe now." Ethan nestled against her, and Claire felt the strength that had always guided her. She thought of Jake, his words about starting over. The age difference still bothered her. What would people think? A 38-year-old woman with a 30-year-old man? But his sincerity, so different from Ryan's deceit, was starting to crack her defenses. Claire looked at the Bridger Mountains, determined to protect her home and maybe to allow herself a new beginning. The soft light of dawn bathed Bozeman, reflecting off the Bridger Mountains as Claire Thompson sipped coffee on her porch. The tranquility was deceptive. The past few days had been a whirlwind. The FBI, led by Agent Karen Ortiz, had moved swiftly on the case against Ryan Mitchell, Derek Holt, and Sophia Larson. The arrests, captured by Claire's security cameras and backed by real-time recordings, were the foundation for solid charges: real estate fraud, conspiracy, and document forgery. Claire felt an emptiness where her anger used to burn. Ryan's betrayal, laid bare in brutal detail, was no longer just personal. It had triggered the downfall of a scheme that harmed other families. At the FBI office, Ortiz updated Claire on the developments. "Ryan and Holt took plea deals," she explained, seated behind a desk cluttered with reports. Holt admitted to targeting first responder and military families, exploiting absent spouses. Ryan was the realtor who identified victims and forged documents. They profited over $500,000 in 2 years, including $25,000 from your joint account. Claire swallowed hard, the magnitude of the scheme hitting her. "And Sophia?" she asked. Ortiz frowned. She had a smaller role but knew about the fraud. She accepted a restitution deal and probation. Claire nodded, relieved that her house was safe, but the emotional cost was steep. The bank, guided by Tom Reynolds, voided the fraudulent refinance, ensuring the house remained in Claire's name. The transfers to Holt were traced, and some of the money would be returned, though the process was slow. Claire spent hours reviewing documents with Laura Bennett, her lawyer, to ensure Ryan had no further access to her finances. "You dealt a blow to their scheme," Laura said with a proud smile. "And you saved other families." Claire forced a smile, but the victory felt bittersweet. The house, with its view of the mountains, was secure, but the memories of 15 years of marriage were tainted. Ethan, Claire's 16-year-old son, felt the impact most deeply. He had grown quieter, his eyes carrying a mix of confusion and anger. One night, as Claire prepared dinner, he asked, "Why did Dad do this? Didn't he care about us?" Claire paused, her heart tight. "Kid, I don't know what led your dad to do this, but he made bad choices, and that's got nothing to do with you." Ethan stared at his plate, his voice low. "What if he comes back?" Claire sat beside him, holding his hand. "He won't hurt us again. I'll make sure of it." She suggested therapy for Ethan, and he reluctantly agreed. Claire booked a session with a local counselor, determined to help her son navigate the pain. At the fire station, Claire found refuge in work, leading drills with her usual intensity. Jake Palmer, the 30-year-old firefighter, was increasingly present. During a break, he invited her for a hike in the Bridger Mountains, a casual plan that caught her off guard. "You need a day without putting out fires," he said, his smile making his eyes sparkle. Claire hesitated, the 8-year age gap still a barrier in her mind. "I don't know, Jake. My life's a mess right now," she replied, but he insisted gently. "Just a hike. No pressure." Against her better judgment, Claire agreed. The hike was an unexpected relief. The fresh air, the sound of streams, and the mountain views calmed Claire. Jake, carrying a backpack with snacks, surprised her with an impromptu picnic at a lookout. "You deserve a moment like this," he said, opening a soda. Claire looked at him, her heart torn. He was young, confident, with a life that seemed free of the scars she carried. "Why are you being so nice to me?" she asked, her voice tinged with doubt. Jake smiled, serious. "Because I see you, Claire. Not the age, not the chaos. You're strong, but you don't have to carry everything alone." The words hit her, and for the first time, Claire felt the age barrier weaken, but the conflict lingered. Back at the station, Claire avoided Jake's gaze, worried about what others would think. A 38-year-old single mom with a 30-year-old man. What if it was just a distraction? A mistake driven by loneliness? During a drill, Jake helped her carry heavy gear, and their fingers brushed briefly. "You're overthinking," he whispered with a half-smile. Claire blushed, annoyed with herself for letting his presence affect her. But Jake's sincerity, so different from Ryan's deceit, was starting to shift something inside her. A letter arrived that week, sent by a firefighter family from Missoula. "Thank you for exposing Holt and Ryan," it read. "They almost took our home. You gave us a chance to fight." Claire read the letter multiple times, feeling a warmth in her chest. Her fight hadn't been just for her and Ethan. It had rippled, protecting others. She tucked the letter in a drawer, a reminder that even in pain, there was purpose. That night, Claire sat on the porch, gazing at the stars. Ethan was in his room, doing homework, soft music drifting from his window. She thought of Jake, the hike, the picnic. The age difference still bothered her, but his words, not the age, not the chaos, resonated. Ryan had betrayed her, but Jake saw who she really was. Claire took a deep breath, determined to face her fears. The house was safe. Ethan was protected, and maybe, just maybe, she could let herself trust again. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time in months, Claire felt a thread of hope. Claire Thompson stood on the porch of her new cabin, a modest cedar-sided home nestled on the outskirts of Bozeman, Montana. The view was breathtaking. A creek sparkled below, winding through pines, with the Bridger Mountains rising in the distance. It was smaller than the house she'd fought to save, but it felt right, a fresh canvas for her and Ethan. After the FBI dismantled Ryan Mitchell's fraudulent scheme, Claire had made a bold choice. She sold the old house, erasing the ghosts of betrayal, and bought this cabin with the proceeds. The move marked a new chapter, one she was determined to write on her own terms. The past months had been a whirlwind of change. Ryan and Derek Holt faced years in prison after their plea deals, their scheme exposed as a calculated exploitation of first responder families. Sophia Larson, complicit but less culpable, was repaying stolen funds under probation. Claire's evidence, security footage, bank records, forged documents, had been the linchpin, saving not just her home, but others across Montana and Idaho. The gratitude from families, like the Missoula firefighters whose letter she kept framed, reminded her that her fight had purpose. Yet the scars of Ryan's betrayal lingered, a quiet ache beneath her resilience. Ethan, now 17, was adapting to their new life. The cabin's open layout suited his teenage need for space, and he'd claimed a corner for his biology textbooks and a small telescope for stargazing. Therapy had helped him process Ryan's actions, and Claire watched with pride as he grew more confident. He'd applied to Montana State University's biology program, his dream of studying wildlife taking shape. One evening, as they unpacked boxes, Ethan grinned at Claire. "This place is cool, Mom. Feels like us." Claire ruffled his hair, her heart swelling. "We're gonna make it our own, kid." At the fire station, Claire had transitioned to a new role as an instructor, training recruits with the same grit she'd honed over a decade of fighting wildfires. The work was demanding but rewarding, a chance to pass on her hard-earned knowledge. Jake Palmer, the 30-year-old firefighter who'd become a steady presence, was one of her students. Their connection had deepened since the hike in the Bridger Mountains, but Claire's fears about their 8-year age gap persisted. She worried about judgment, her colleagues, the town, even herself. Was she chasing a fleeting spark, risking her hard-won stability for a younger man? Jake, however, was relentless in his quiet sincerity. He showed up at the cabin one weekend, toolbox in hand, to help fix a leaky faucet Claire had mentioned in passing. "You don't have to do this," she said, watching him work. Jake glanced up, his brown eyes steady. "I want to, Claire. You've been carrying enough. Let me help." His words, simple but earnest, chipped away at her doubts. Later, over coffee at the cabin's small kitchen table, Jake shared stories of his childhood in rural Idaho, raised by a single mom who taught him resilience. "Age never mattered to her," he said. "She told me character's what counts, who you are, not how many years you've got." Claire listened, her guard softening. Jake wasn't Ryan, with his charm masking lies. Jake was real, and he saw her. The turning point came during a training session at the station. Claire was demonstrating a rope rescue when a rig malfunctioned, sending a dummy plummeting. Jake reacted instantly, securing the rope and preventing a disaster. "Nice save, Palmer," Claire said, her voice professional, but her eyes betraying admiration. After the session, Jake lingered. "You're the one who saves everyone, Claire, but who's got your back?" His question hit hard. That night, Claire invited him to the cabin for dinner, a simple meal of chili and cornbread. Ethan, to her relief, took to Jake, quizzing him about firefighting and laughing at his stories. As they washed dishes, Jake nudged Claire. "See? I'm not that young," she laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in months. Her fears about the age difference didn't vanish overnight. At a local diner, Claire caught a raised eyebrow from a colleague who saw her with Jake, and the sting of judgment flared. She confronted Jake later, her voice raw. "People are gonna talk, Jake. I'm 38, a mom with baggage. You're 30, free to start fresh." "Why me?" Jake took her hand, his grip steady. "Because you're Claire Thompson. You fight fires, raise a kid, and take down crooks. Age? That's just a number. I'm here for who you are, not what people think." His conviction silenced her doubts, not because it erased them, but because it proved he saw her fully. Scars, strength, and all. Their romance bloomed in quiet moments. Cooking together, watching Ethan's telescope sessions, hiking, trails where Jake teased her about her pace. One night, under a blanket of stars, Jake kissed her, slow and certain. Claire tensed at first, the weight of her past lingering, but then leaned into it, letting herself trust. "You're trouble, Palmer," she whispered. He grinned. "Good kind of trouble." Claire knew the whispers wouldn't stop, but Jake's character, his loyalty, his heart, mattered more than the 8 years between them. Months later, Claire led a new mission against a wildfire threatening a Bozeman suburb. Jake was at her side, now a full-fledged firefighter under her training. They moved in sync, dousing flames and clearing brush, their trust unspoken but ironclad. As the fire died down, Jake grabbed her hand, his face smudged with soot but beaming. "We make a hell of a team, Thompson." Claire smiled, her heart full. The fire was out, and for the first time she felt unburdened. Back at the cabin, Claire stood on the porch, Ethan inside preparing for his college application. Jake joined her, slipping an arm around her waist. The creek murmured below, and the mountain stood sentinel. Claire thought of Ryan's betrayal, the house she'd lost, the fight she'd won. It had all led here, to a home, a son thriving, and a man who proved love wasn't about age, but about showing up. She leaned into Jake, the future uncertain but hers to shape. Claire Thompson had faced fire and betrayal, and she'd emerged stronger, ready for whatever came next. What would you do in Claire's shoes? If you uncovered such a devastating betrayal, how would you react? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know what you think of Claire's choice to trust in love again with Jake, despite the age difference. Your story might inspire others, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and what would you do in Claire's shoes? If you uncovered such a devastating betrayal, how would you react? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know what you think of Claire's choice to trust in love again with Jake. Despite the age difference, your story might inspire others, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated with our latest videos. Let's build a community of support and reflection together. Hit the bell to stay updated with our latest videos. Let's build a community of support and reflection together.